pressed edge, rectified, vitrified, through body, full body, double charged, color body. What? Hi everyone, if you're thinking of building or renovating, then this is the place to be. I'm Nikki and tonight we will be decoding tile specifications. Specifically those relating to edge types, durability, color, slip resistance, wear resistance, and variation ratings. Now, if you want to know more about materials and finishes of tiles, then check out other videos that we've done. Links are in the description. Vitrified and rectified are two entirely different things when it comes to tiles. Rectified relates to the edges, which I will talk about later, and vitrified is more about its porosity and color. Vitrification is specific to manufactured only materials, such as porcelain and ceramic, which means natural stones like marble cannot be vitrified. So if someone tries to sell you vitrified marble, chances are it is a marble look ceramic or porcelain, not actual marble. Generally speaking, all porcelain tiles are vitrified tiles, but not all vitrified tiles are porcelain. In the same way that all chocolate cake is cake, but not all cake is chocolate, unfortunately. Vitrified tiles are highly durable, water, stain and scratch resistant, and are very low maintenance. They are very well suited to wet areas and covered patios, especially if they have a non-slip finish added to the surface. Ceramic vitrified tiles are available with different levels of porosity and are generally classified as semi-vitrified, vitrified, or highly vitrified. Semi-vitrified tiles are best suited for areas where they're not immersed in water or exposed to big temperature changes. This makes them best suited for walls. Vitrified tiles can be used on floors in higher traffic areas like entries and lounge rooms, while highly vitrified tiles are the best for bathrooms, showers, and outdoors because they have the lowest porosity and are less affected by large temperature changes. Porcelain tiles are generally considered highly vitrified tiles, though terminology may vary depending on the supplier. At the very least, you should be able to ask the tile suppliers what the porosity rating is of the tile that you're getting. Unfortunately, vitrified tiles are typically heavier and more expensive and have fewer color options than standard ceramic tiles unless they're enhanced with glazes and textures. Their additional weight also requires a stronger substrate and makes them harder to cut, increasing labour costs. All that being said, vitrified tiles are durable, low maintenance, making them ideal for high traffic areas and high impact wet areas. And for the budget conscious, you can mix and match the levels of vitrification throughout your home so that you're still getting the level of durability you need, but not necessarily having the best vitrified tile on your walls or in areas that are lower traffic or don't need that higher porosity. If this video is helpful for you, please click the like button. We really appreciate it, and it's free. Obviously, anything that is a natural stone will have the color and texture all the way through the tile. But when you're selecting an engineered tile, like a ceramic or porcelain, then it's helpful to know the difference between full body, double charge, or color body options. Full body tiles, also referred to as through body tiles, have a consistent surface color through the entire tile. As a result, any scratches or damage doesn't dramatically alter the tile's appearance, which makes full body tiles particularly suitable for high impact and high traffic environments. Just be aware that some full body tiles can also be glazed or polished. This means that the surface has been treated slightly differently, which can change the variation of colour when they are scratches and marks. They also cost more than glazed tiles, but last longer and wear better and are easier to maintain, making them worthwhile investment if your budget allows. Double charged or double layered tiles are vitrified tiles, typically porcelain, and they're comprised of two layers. The upper layer, generally 2 to 4 mil thick, contains the primary pigments and patterns that you would see on the top of the tile, while the lower part is the structural base. This 2-layering system usually means that they are cheaper than full-bodied tiles, since only the top layer has the colour through it. The thicker top layer also provides enhanced durability compared to standard glazed tiles, which usually only have a glaze of about 1 mil thick. Double charged tiles can be polished and are typically more robust than their full body counterparts because of this sandwiching manufactured process. It's like you're getting the best of both worlds. However, colour options may be limited, and any chips or scratches that do penetrate through that 4 mil layer will be seen a lot more prominently, and you won't get that in a full body tile. Colour-bodied porcelain tiles are glazed and have a base that matches the colour of the finish. This means chips and scratches are less visible than standard tiles. However, patterns and colour variation or the polish finishes are not carried through the body. So damage is still more noticeable than with a full-bodied or even a double-charged tile. That being said, there are a lot more colour and design options than with a 3-body or double-charged layer, and they are usually cheaper. So if you're looking to save a little bit of money, colour-bodied tiles are really great for lower impact areas like walls. But if you've got a little bit more money to spend, going with a full-bodied or a double-charged layer for the floors is a really good balance. When it comes to tile edges, the industry lingo can change quite a bit. We have tried to include as many different variations as possible, but we probably haven't got all of them. So if you come across any that we've missed, please put them in the comments so everybody can see them. And with any of these things, always get a sample of what you are looking at before you make a decision to make sure you are actually getting what you think you're getting. A pressed, cushioned, rounded, pillowed, or non-rectified edge is usually seen on ceramic or porcelain tiles and is what I would call a traditional or classic edge. They have a slightly rounded top caused by the material being pressed and spreading in the mold during the manufacturing process. This rounded edge is quite forgiving, allowing for more variation in finish height between adjacent tiles, meaning it is more suited to renovations, DIY, and areas where walls and floors are not as square as they could be. Tiles with a pressed edge typically give a softer, more traditional look and can be faster to install and cheaper to manufacture than rectified tiles. However, they typically require wider grout lines, so 3 to 5 mil, and are usually not as precise and can look outdated depending on the surrounding finishes. A rectified, square, machine cut or sharp edge tile is mechanically cut after initial production to ensure precise dimensions and straight edges. This technique enables each tile to be installed with minimal grout lines, sometimes as small as 1 mil, resulting in consistent and sharply defined joints. Rectified edges are ideal for achieving a contemporary streamlined appearance and are frequently found on large format tiles or where minimal grout lines are exactly what you're looking for. Unfortunately, due to how precise they are, rectified tiles need even surfaces, plumb walls, and expert installation to look their best and avoid lippage, because you don't want any lippage. The additional process of squaring up the edge during manufacture also adds to the cost of the tiles, but if you're looking for a clean, modern look and are happy to pay a little bit extra for supply and installation, then Rectified is my go-to. A tumbled edge is produced by mechanical distressing, softening the corners and creating a worn, irregular profile. While similar to a pressed edge, tumbled edges give a more weathered and naturally rounded look and can be used on natural stone, such as travertine. Tumbled edges create enough variation to give interest without looking too uneven and it is more forgiving to lay than rectified tiles. So if you're wanting a more softer, natural look that is a little bit more modern than a pressed edge, then tumbled is an excellent choice. But you can't get it on every type of material, so just watch out for that. If you're choosing porcelain tiles, then you might see in the specification PEI, or wear rating. PEI refers to the Porcelain Enamel Institute, and this rating can be ranked from 1 to 5. 1 being the least durable and 5 being the most durable. The main reason why you want to pay attention to this number is really to see if the tile that you are looking at is suited for where you want to put it. So for example, a class 1 is not for foot traffic. It's recommended only for walls. Class 2 is for light traffic, so it's recommended for walls or for areas like laundries or bathrooms if the slip resistance is there, of course. Class 3 is light to moderate, recommended for countertops, walls and floors where normal foot traffic is expected. Class 4 is moderate to heavy traffic, recommended for all areas of residential applications as well as some light and medium commercial. Whereas Class 5 is heavy traffic, recommended for all residential and heavy commercial. Unfortunately, PEI doesn't apply to materials other than porcelain, but you can find durability comparisons of marble, granite, sandstone, travertine, and other common tile materials in my other videos. So links are in the description. But if you are looking at porcelain tiles, it is a really good thing to check out. The slip ratings of different tiles should be tested to the Australian standards to determine which areas of the house they are most suitable for. Typically for residential applications, you will see a pendulum test or a P number. If you're looking at commercial applications or outdoor ramps that are exposed to the elements, you might also see a oil wet damp test or an R number and a barefoot wet ramp test. For the purposes of choosing tiles for your home, the higher the P value or the R value, the higher the slip resistance and the safer the tile. And usually if you go into a tile supply store, they will only give you P ratings because they're residential. If you get a tile rating with an R, it means it's commercial rated. So it's usually slightly better depending on the numbers, but I'm going to give you both. P2 and a P3 are typically suited for dry indoor flooring areas like living rooms and bedrooms. P3 and higher are really good for internal stairs. P4 and higher is for external stairs. P5 is great for exterior ramps, while P3 plus, R9, R10 are really good for bathrooms and kitchens. And P4 or P5 or R11 plus are outdoor spaces and areas around pools. Did you get all that? If not, I've put it in the description as well. Or you can just keep rewatching that section, you know, that works too. Now with every single type of tile that you could possibly get, there will be some form of variation between the different tiles in a batch. Some suppliers will give you a variation rating, and it's usually marked from 1 till 4, with 1 being the least variation and 4 being the most variation. This isn't a bad thing if you've got high variation. In fact, it might actually be the look that you're going for. You just need to be aware what the differences are. Typically, if you get a V1, you'll be looking at shade variation of pretty much nothing. They'd be very, very uniform, and they're normally suited to solid color or color with just small specks, small variations. V2 is moderate, which means standard variation that you would normally get from natural stones, all cut from the same slab. V3, on the other hand, you're more likely to get the same color, but texture and pattern variations. And then when you get to V4, you're looking at variations up the wazoo. Another really good question to ask is what's the repeat? So if you've got a printed tile, say a ceramic or a porcelain printed tile with a marble look, I always ask, what's the repeat? And what I'm asking for is how many different types of prints there are available to you. So if you've got a tile which only has 4 different variations and you've got a really wide area, you will notice that it's not real marble because the variations, the patterns will start to look exactly the same. Whereas if you have a big variation, say it's 50, then you're less likely to have that problem. And you can even get the tiler to alternate the orientation of those tiles that look similar or the same. So with that, we're going to conclude this full tile series that we've done over the past couple of months. I hope you've enjoyed it, but here are some key takeaways. Firstly, beware of tiles that are labeled as stone. It should really tell you what type of stone it is, or say it's a stone look. So something that says ceramic with a stone look, that's totally fine because they're being very open about it. But if it says it's just a stone material, marble is very different to sandstone, which is very different to travertine, which is very different to slate. And they're very different prices, very different characteristics. Another thing, not every finish or edge is represented here because, to be honest, a lot of tile manufacturers come up with their own. So, you know, at the expense of spending several hours going through every single one that there is available, we've just given you the ones that we think are the most common. Always get a sample, always, and put it on the floor, put it on the wall, put it in different colored light, test its porosity, flip it over and put some water on it. And if it soaks in, it's ceramic. If it doesn't, it's more likely a vitrified ceramic or a porcelain tile. In case you haven't noticed, I have trust issues when it comes to these sorts of things. I don't like being sold snake oil, and I hope you don't either. Another thing, always be sure that the tile you are choosing is suitable for where you want to put it. Don't put a wall tile on the floor because it will be slippery, it's thinner, it's more likely to break. And while it might be okay to do a floor tile on the wall, often floor tiles are thicker. So if you're going to do that, you need to make allowances for adding that thickness to your walls with your architraves or trims, all that sort of stuff. So be aware of where you're going to put it. And be aware of your slip ratings. So there you have it. We are getting to the end of the year now, and we are going to start working on our Christmas special, so stay tuned for that. In the meantime, I am Nikki, CEO and founder of Totally Wicked Group. I hope you have a totally wicked evening.